Is Apple's growth engine still fueled? Some investors are unsure whether it's time to sell since the firm has already provided market-beating returns for years and is close to the top of the elite club of trillion-dollar corporations. Others continue to find indications that Apple's growth isn't yet complete. Apple is doing well despite economic challenges. There is reason for concern about a future or a current recession, and inflation is eroding savings and wage increases. In a macroeconomic scenario like this, customers are more likely to put off purchasing items they may desire but don't really need. That accurately sums up a large number of Apple goods. Both a brand new smartphone and a stylish set of Bluetooth headphones are excellent. In truth, nobody wants the brand new versions of those items that often command costs that are far more than normal. This would indicate that Apple will have a difficult time succeeding. Although these difficult headwinds have undoubtedly had an influence on its profitability, the tech behemoth is unexpectedly handling them well. Apple's most recent quarterly report showed that its net sales for the third quarter of its fiscal year of 2022, which ended on June 25th, were up around 2% year over year to $83 billion. Considering the problems Apple is facing, this small top-line increase is admirable. Apple's profits per share did fall to $1.20 from the $1.30 recorded in the same quarter last year. Inflation-related increases in expenditures and expenses might have been a factor in the situation. However, altogether, Apple's performance was rather good. The iPhone, the company's flagship product, was largely responsible for its success. The iPhone shall live. For more than 10 years, Apple's primary source of income has been the iPhone. The IT world used to halt what they were doing and pay attention every time Apple announced a new version of its cherished iPhone, but there is some argument that it no longer creates the enthusiasm that it once did. But the iPhone continues to be in high demand. The amount of money made by this division in Apple's third quarter increased by 2.8% to $40.7 billion. CEO Tim Cook claims that when examining the statistics on iPhone for the June quarter, a macroeconomic headwind is not immediately apparent. Not that there isn't one, mind you. I'm asserting that the evidence doesn't support this, despite the fact that it's readily apparent in the wearables, home, and accessory sector. Selling more iPhones will not just increase Apple's income. When a new gadget is purchased by a consumer who wasn't previously a member of Apple's network, it also aids the firm in expanding its installed base. That seems to be the case, at least in Apple's part, as Apple said during its most recent quarter, the installed base of all of its products hit all-time highs. These changes have important long-term ramifications. Apple can monetize these customers and increase its services income the more individuals it is connected to its network of services. Apple's services division had quicker growth than the rest of the company during the third quarter, with total revenues of $19.6 billion, or 12.1% more than the same quarter last year. Apple's margins are having an impact. The better margins of Apple's services division are a major benefit. Although Apple has made a determined effort over the years to increase its margins, this business has supported these endeavors even if the services sector is still far behind in sales. The gross margin for Apple's products division in the third quarter was 34.5%, which was 1.5 percentage points lower than in the same quarter last year. The company's services division witnessed an increase in margins from 69.8% to 71.5% nevertheless. This enabled Apple's overall gross margin to stay constant at 43.3% year over year. Investors can expect Apple's margins to keep expanding as a result of the rising importance of its services division. Apple is now grappling with major problems, much like the rest of the globe. However, the corporation is by no means collapsing under the weight of its presumably temporary difficulties. Sales, particularly of the iPhone, are increasing because of the client devotion it has garnered over the years. Whether in the technology industry or outside, Apple has an unrivaled valuable brand name. The company's margins are being favorably impacted by Apple's services division, and this trend will continue for many years. For patient investors, Apple still seems to be a great long-term investment. It makes sense that it's one of Warren Buffett's preferred stocks. Services, Apple's secondary source of income. CEO Tim Cook saw the potential of Apple's services division long before anybody else did and in early 2017, he announced ambitions to treble its income over the next 4 years. Midway through 2022, services had reached its peak, with a record-breaking 19% of Apple's total income coming from this category, which also includes Apple Music, the App Store, Apple Pay, and Apple TV Plus, among others. The June quarter recently ended. Each significant area of services reached revenue records as well, including all-time highs for music, cloud services, Apple Care, and payment services. With just 8 shows and a documentary, Apple TV Plus initially served as a kind of inside joke for the business, but now no one is amusing themselves. For its content, Apple has received more than 250 accolades and more than 1,100 nominations, including 52 Emmy Award nominations in 2022. Dividends, the ever-present gift. In 2012, Apple resumed dividend payments, and since then, it has established a very successful track record. In only 10 years, the quarterly dividend, which started at a split-adjusted $0.095, has increased 143%. Included in this is Apple's earlier this year announcement, which increased the quarterly dividend to 23 cents per share, a 5% increase for 2022. Given that Apple is only allocating less than 15% of its earnings to the payment, there's a good chance that this isn't the last rise.